JavaScript. Of the Holy Web Development Trinity, it's the real web programming language, instilling fear in the hearts and minds of all noobs learning to code. It's the reason, though, why people are stuck in tutorial limbo and do not create practical projects because of concern with their own limitations. I'm not going front. JavaScript is a hard language to learn, but that's the reason why I'm going all in on it in 2024 from scratch. Let's talk about it. You know, the hardest things in life are what yield the greatest reward. I've stayed with HTML and CSS for far too long. If I wanted to continue building websites on the side, then those two languages serve a great purpose. But freelancing has a ceiling. In my heart of hearts, I knew the money was in JavaScript development and engineering. Personally, I'm glad about it. There's just more opportunity for me to gain from a deep mastering of JavaScript's ins and outs. We'll break this video down into 3 segments: versatility, specialization, and marketability. One of the key things I admire about learning this very tense and frustrating language for others is the fact that it has its hands in many pots for it to be a native front-end language. At the time of this recording, JS seems to be a pretty wonderful access point to integrate machine learning on the internet. In an article titled "Using JavaScript for Machine Learning," an AI engineer by the name of Jean De Rocha says this:
"It has become a powerful tool in the field of machine learning as more and more libraries are being developed to make it easier for developers to use machine learning algorithms in their applications. So, once you have an understanding of machine learning, you can start to use JavaScript libraries to create machine learning models. There are several libraries available, including TensorFlow.js, which is a library for developing and training machine learning models in the browser, and ML5.js, which is a high-level library that makes it easy to use machine learning in web applications."
While I personally have no plans of getting into AI at the moment due to that being above my current skill set, which is beginner, I still bring it up because if I become advanced enough, that will be the door that I can eventually walk. And see, that's what I'm talking about. It's that versatility that makes me feel as if I'm holding a key to unlock a door that's been shut on me for eons. Man, if you look online, JavaScript bleeds into so many different areas. Let's get the obvious one out the way, and that is front-end development, which is usually the entry-level, friendlier access point for a noob's first foray into coding. The problem is that many stay in front-end development, which is fine, but again, the best incentives lie in conquering the more difficult elements of online programming. When researching this video, Chris Sean talked about how much harder it is to use JavaScript on the back end for server-side capabilities versus the front end, which makes sense because JavaScript was originally intended for object-oriented programming within a browser that people interact with in real time. It's gonna sound funny, but the front end is where people lose their coding virginity, building basic websites using JavaScript to validate information and control web elements. Popping that cherry early. Yet JS is sophisticated so much that it could be used in mobile development and serverless computing, such as working in the cloud. Another resource from Orient.com says the following:
"You can use JavaScript to create mobile applications. One of the more popular frameworks for doing so is React Native, which helps programmers build native apps using JavaScript. Using React Native, you can develop mobile apps with JavaScript only. It allows you to create mobile apps for both Android and iOS without learning the native languages of each platform, that being Java for Android and Swift for iOS, for example. It lets a JavaScript web developer use their skills to create a fully functional mobile app with performance comparable to that of a traditional app built with Swift or Java. NativeScript is another framework for building native mobile apps in JavaScript. Like React Native, it allows you to create native UI components. The difference is, though, that NativeScript takes a different approach than React Native by building on top of the popular Angular framework, which means that programmers can use Angular to create mobile apps in JavaScript."
So man, all those Xcode concerns, man, throw those worries and cares into the trash and it can never be seen again. Just all basket. While mobile development is still viable, I don't know if that will be part of my focus as we move into the dawn of a new era with AI and virtual reality. But because I don't believe we'll be moving away from mobile just yet, taking on a few projects to pay the bills just won't hurt at all. Now, let's talk about cloud computing for a hot second. And this is being your AWS, your Lambda, your Google Cloud Function, among other things. Programmers can create server-side applications mimicking client-side JavaScript, since cloud functions run on the edge of a network where scripts can be executed without hosting them online. Just for clarity, when talking about client-side, that just simply means what the human user sees versus what they don't see, which is usually all your back-end stuff. This makes it easy for most developers to create production-ready JavaScript functions and deploy them in seconds. While cloud computing sounds awesome, if my skills reach the heavens through Google's Tower of Babel, what I'm really excited to play around with is game development. I honestly think this is where I will reduce my learning curve because of what I would need to understand when programming games for the internet. Before Flash transitioned to Adobe Animate, I would build little simple Flash games using ActionScript to program animations and little keyboard functions, little keyboard movements. Flash had the potential to be universal, but I guess we now have HTML5 to thank for replacing it. And of course, Steve Jobs for killing it. I play quite a bit of browser games, and developing a small experience I think would be exciting. I think game development would be a good introduction into really grasping and understanding the fundamentals, basic fundamentals of JavaScript. I purchased this book, JavaScript for Kids, because I wanted to have some fun with learning these things. So don't laugh at me for going a little preschool when it comes to the coding side of projects, all right? If you want a very easy, very accessible projects understanding, try getting it at the very 5th grade level understanding. And I actually think this is more 8th grade level, but you get the idea. You know, I still like using books because my learning style is reading and consuming information at my own pace and then applying that knowledge. That is how I actually learn, in addition to applying it in a practical sense. But also, most online courses outside of free code camp now require some premium payment for their more advanced courses. So books it is for me. And this particular book has lessons. All I need is an online text editor such as JS Fiddle or playcode.io sandbox for gaming experimentation. But still, all this is a testament to the flexibility JS has grown into over the years. And thank you, Brandon Ike. Your invention of a once convoluted language is now feeding an entire tech community, not just in lifestyle, but creatively as well. I am trying to completely move away from saying that I know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I am committing to being a full-fledged JavaScript developer or engineer, whichever one sounds sexier. When I say specialization, I guess I'm really talking about being a superior JavaScript generalist. I'm not talking about just specializing in one area of JavaScript, but knowing the language deep enough that I can go and just do whatever I want. Because of my practice with all three, I'm familiar with the DOM and how JS just manipulates it, but I don't want to stay in the arena of web development forever. If I decide to partner with a game designer and breathe life into their online game, I could choose to do that. If I want to program mobile applications, that also will be an option for me. The possibilities are simply endless at this moment. Again, deep for me is understanding how to write and organize the complex layers of JavaScript. How far can I go with constructing arrays or nesting if-then statements within different variables? I probably butchered that logic in an effort to sound profound, but I think you get the point. Narrowing down is merely me saying, out of the three, JavaScript is for me. How far down this rabbit hole can I go? And one can say this about CSS with learning its own programming variations such as Sass, Less, and SCSS. But I think those parts are still supplementary, meaning that they aren't seen as serious programming languages, but a means to an end to help front-end coders write cleaner, more efficient CSS. Plus, CSS is still primarily a front-end design technology whose tentacles haven't breached other areas like I just described with JavaScript's versatility. Don't hide in the sand forever. Get over any fear you have about how difficult JavaScript is and build projects with it, which brings me to the last point. And be honest, I don't care what the job market looks like. You'll hear people talking about learning frameworks. Go learn you some Node and Vue.js. Screw that. I'm learning the fundamentals. I'm starting from the beginning level of learning and how to build things from the ground up. There's a method to this madness. When I got started back in web design in 2011, I started from the very bottom. The pits of tutorial hell bottom. And you know what that did? It made me a better problem solver. It showed me how to debug code, even if it is a markup and styling language, and understanding the syntax and why things work the way that they do. For years, I've been reading JavaScript code, trying to reverse engineer it, but can never write it on my own to demonstrate that I really had a firm grasp on the language. With HTML and CSS, I understand the why and can condense CSS code down for a cleaner look and functionality. I just can't do that with JavaScript yet. I'm more interested in how JavaScript receives and returns information through form entry and having a little fun with Canvas game development to help me get a grasp on what makes JS code tick. And all that getting understanding, and that's exactly my plan with this journey. The job market also is bright for JS developers regardless if companies aren't hiring right now. Now, that's a very contradictory statement, so what am I truly saying here? Be so good that they cannot ignore you for too long. My game plan is to teach what I'm learning right here on this channel to train me on how to explain my coding choices in projects. I also want to partner with other developers and designers to help them maybe get a product off the ground that, who knows, maybe I can have a stake in. The problem with beginners is that they're trying to play it safe the traditional route. Complete some form of schooling, whether it be a boot camp or even a 4-year degree, throw a resume out there and then expect a job afterwards. That's not going to cut it, and I don't think it ever did in the tech job scene. It's not enough to have skills, but can your skills bring in revenue? Can they generate sales? What results does your skills earn and what kind of problems can be solved with it? I mean, real life problems. A follow-up question will be asked. How many users have you generated? What's the interaction like? These questions are asked assuming you are building real life projects published publicly and not hidden in some GitHub creation in its repository. I'll even go as far as saying a traditional portfolio won't cut the mustard either. A showcase of projects as standalone demos is fine for an art gallery, but come on, this is tech, baby. You need published projects that actually add practical value to real people and where other companies can actually see that. Oh, we see that you designed this, this Google add-on or this standalone application, and it helps solve the problem for this user on this, and you generated how many sales? I'm gonna keep repeating that over and over again until you actually understand. I know that if I go deep with learning and building things with my new JS knowledge, I will have to take it a step further. Man, I laugh when people say that they hate when companies post entry-level openings require 5 years of experience on Indeed or LinkedIn. And it's funny to me because it is possible to acquire that 5 years experience without actually having a job. You want to know how to do that? Learn JavaScript or another language. Actually build something, add value, and get results with it. That's what you do. That's how I got my first tech gig knowing only HTML and CSS, because I proved to the hiring manager that the websites I built for people increased their revenue by a certain percentage or helped them to reach a goal, whether it was getting more visitors as readers or whatever the case may be. And you know what? Guess what? All that without having professional experience prior. Here's a little bonus takeaway. Here's a little bonus item. After stockpiling projects that get results, seal the deal with certifications to verify your expertise. Now, while certs may not be required, having them as a badge alongside your project achievements is simply icing on the cake. LinkedIn certs, for example, are good for recruiters who want to reduce their time searching for qualified candidates. If you have a LinkedIn tech cert, your profile will be sent to these recruiters much faster. I should know because I have an HTML and CSS cert on LinkedIn and I still get DMs from random recruiters. Just a side note though, some of them have spammed me, some of them have been pretty legit. So this is very useful. But outside of functional uses on professional social sites, seek out accredited certifications that company will value and take seriously. I plan on embellishing my experience through a few certifications as more social proof. But be careful. If you've hacked your way into earning certs but do not have the realistic skills to support that paper reputation, it could be a bad look. It's similar to why 4-year degrees don't get much love today, as employers want real-world applications, not puffed-up knowledge that doesn't translate. Now, while I've laid out my future plans in this video, I still understand that some of you may not care to take the plunge in this matter. Heck, you may not even like to code, but maybe you have an interest in a career in just managing websites. This is actually something I've done for a whole decade, and you can make a respectable living doing so as well. Learn how to manage the right websites with the right tools in this video, and you'll have a career you never knew even existed.